You said you think, this is for Joe Testa,
Yeah.
you said you think that the office at the state needs to work more with the local
Yes.
offices.
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, I'll use the county auditor as an example. There's great relationship between and there needs to be, and much of it works very, very well. I mean, certainly that is critical, because give you an example. Real estate appraisal, for example, the appraisal of the process of the state. That's county auditor's responsibility, but it's really delegated to the county auditors by the tax commissioner. So I mean, the county auditors act as agents of the state for valuation and tax. So clearly there has to be a good relationship there in turning things around, turning things over. You know, I alluded to it a second ago in my remarks about we're dealing with laws in many cases that were written a long time ago. I'm trying to give you a short answer. There's a lot of things that have changed over the years. We were talking earlier about cross-jurisdictional issues. School districts, for example, that cross over county lines. The law was never designed to do anything like that. So the tax department and others who are involved have to try to figure out how to put a square peg into a round hole. And I can give you other examples, but it's that kind of thing, ways in which we can do it. So I think that because of my experience here, I'm going to be able, they have an ear, you know, I've been there, I know what this is like, and I am really excited to get the opportunity to work with John's administration and the legislature to be able to change some of these things, streamline these things, so that they work, again, with the modern concepts that have evolved. Jurisdictions, cities and school districts and so on that have become so much more complicated than they ever were when state law was designed.
Talk about the TIF problem, Joe.
TIFs are fun. No, TIFs are a nightmare.
They may not know what that is.
Yeah, tax increment financing.
You know what it is?
Tax increment financing.
That's impressive.
It's a great tool for municipalities because it enables them to be able to build infrastructure funds to be able to pay for the bonding, etc., so they can pay for the infrastructure. So it's a good tool for economic development in that sense. The problem is that the state law never really envisioned it. The state law treats TIFs as if they're exemptions. They're really not exemptions, but that's the way the law is, so they have to take that square peg and shove it into a round hole. What does that mean? That means that the process is ridiculously long and complicated, withholds funds from the jurisdictions who are or should be getting it, causes county auditors to disperse taxes that they shouldn't be, because ultimately, when the backlog catches up, those things are going to be approved because they're so simple. It's that kind of thing. We need to step back and take a look at the bigger picture and say, what are we doing here? How can we go back in? I like to take a big eraser and kind of erase a lot of the tax code, the real estate valuation and tax structure in Ohio. It is so convoluted, it is so complicated, most people don't understand it. And of course you have voters out there trying to make levy decisions with little snippets of information. They don't understand the underlying structure. So things like that.
Just to kind of talk about this a little bit, Reggie. So if you want to do a big development up somewhere in Cleveland, okay, and you do a TIF, which means that you put out bonding, which means the city of Cleveland takes on debt, and then the valuation of that property goes up because they know there's going to be a major development there. Well, if the state of Ohio does not get that increased valuation dollars back to local government, they can't pay down the bonds. And they start distributing the money. It just creates total chaos, and it really hampers the ability to do economic development. What you're hearing here today is a guy who's going to come with a lot of plans to modernize this whole system. That's what is so exciting about it, and it will be of excellence, and it's going to be cool. Joe's not a guy that recognizes much about politics. He just goes and does his job, makes everybody mad, but gets his job done. So,
not everybody.
Well, a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people. Yes, sir.
Based on those plans and the challenges that you have.
Now we got the producers asking questions now. This is really something.
I'm a little bit of everything.
Okay.
With that in mind, do you find that the challenges and the problems that you might face will be in conflict with the governor's office in the pledge against taxes? I understand that the governor's office has a pledge to not to raise no new taxes. Do you find that the challenges that
Yeah,
you're
I hope
facing-
that nothing in what I just said could be construed as raising taxes, because that's clearly not my interest. I'm not sure exactly where you see a potential conflict. We're going to be working in concert. Obviously, John's the governor, and he's going to set the tone and the direction, and I intend to implement it to the extent that the tax department plays a role. So no, I see them being very much in concert. I think we think very much alike along those lines.
As a former county official,
Yes.
who depended on the local government fund,
Yes.
do you agree with the policy that we should try to phase out the state income tax?
Can you go to the mic with me?
Sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry. Well, as the county auditor isn't actually a receiver of local government funds; it is a distributor of LGF. So just to clarify that, I never saw myself as a county auditor as really that was part of my responsibility, other than the distribution, of course. And we have a formula. I don't know if you're familiar with how that works, but there's a formula to use to distribute that. So how that gets adjusted because of state revenues or how the legislature, what they do with the budget and that kind of thing, was not something that I had direct involvement with before. So I really didn't voice opinion on that. But look around. $8 billion is a lot of money. There's going to be a tough budget, and so that means that there's going to be some reductions. There has to be. So if that impacts LGF, I'm not predicting anything there, but I'm saying if that impacts LGF, I won't be shocked, because again, this is a statewide issue.
But you share the goal of eventually eliminating the state income tax, phasing it out?
Of course he does.
I
That's why I appointed him.
I want.
Just tell him you're not answering this
Redu-
question.
Overall reduction is absolutely what I'm in favor of. Whether it's how much of it's income, how much of it is in some other ways, I'm not weighed into that. But again, reducing the tax burden, as I mentioned in my opening comments, is clearly something I'm interested in.
Look, let me just